Hello, everybody. Thanks for being here with me. It's early morning in Los Angeles, but I know it's all kinds of times around the world. My name is Tara Aal, and I'm an astrologer, writer, artist. I do lots of stuff, but this is very exciting for me this year because this is my first book with Llewellyn. And it is out for pre-order now called Astrology by Moonlight. And the actual release date is December 8th. I have to give credit to my dear friend and fellow astrologer, Aswin Subramanyan. He is co-author on this book with me, and he's in India. And due to the COVID and terrible situation there, he wasn't able to join me today. But I'm going to talk just not much about myself. You can find me at taraal.com, TARAAAL.com, if you're interested in more of my astrology or what I do. But I just love moon phases. So I'm excited that we get, just really 20 minutes for me to talk about it. Before I jump into that, the book Astrology by Moonlight, it's very much about the moon. And it is about moon phases, but it goes beyond that. So in the book, if you're a beginner, you will learn a lot about each of the basic planets, traditionally and modern, so all the way out to Pluto. And you'll learn about your birth moon phase, which is what we're going to talk about now, but also the moon's phasal relationship with each of the other planets in your chart. And the moon in astrology reflects in us really like the most personal, emotional part of who we are, how we feel on the inside about ourselves. So the moon has everything to do with our habits, our emotional coping skills, how we find comfort, how we nurture. Sometimes we call it like our heart and soul because it's that inner sense of self. And in evolutionary astrology, which is the area of astrology that I work in, at least the basis of my work, the moon is also related to the ego, not in a negative sense, but in the separate sense of self, the part of ourselves that we want to know and label and say, this is me. So when you look at the moon in relationship to other planets in your chart, it really opens the door to understanding how the innermost personal part of you is working with other parts of yourself. So for example, moon, we talk about being like the me. And Venus, for example, is the we, the you in relationships or how you partner with people and with life. But we're not going to go down that road today. We're just going to stick with moon phases. And when we say moon phases, the moon is not doing anything by itself. It's actually solely lunar phases, meaning a moon phase is the relationship between the moon and the sun in the sky. When we say moonlight, it's actually always sunlight because the moon doesn't generate any light on its own. It reflects the sunlight. You can think about this in your own chart in the sense that your sun sign and moon sign, your sun and moon, they don't work separately. They're a cosmic pair. And so when you think about your personal moon phase, which I'm going to call your birth lunation phase, and also I have to throw out credit. There is a very famous astrologer, Dane Rudhyar. He is really, his pioneering work on moon phases, his book, The Lunation Cycle, is the basis for this phasal work that we do. And here's the thing, you guys, if you haven't looked up your personal birth phase, which by the way, just beware of those websites out there. They don't always get it exactly right because time usually you don't put into them. One that I like is a website called Moonglow, MOONGLOW.com. They also sell this super cool jewelry that actually, they take your moon phase and turn it into jewelry, but they have a good little app that you can put in your time. Anyhow, if you don't know what phase you were born under, you want to check it out. It literally is just as literally or figuratively as important as your sun or your moon sign or your rising sign. These days, when I'm working with my clients or my students, first of all, I look at way more than just those pieces in the chart, but the phase that you were born under. And there's 8 phases. You guys can probably see on my little chart back here. I've got them written out. Those 8 phases, the sun in many ways represents our sense of purpose, right? Very simplistically, how we're meant to shine, what we feel our role is in the world. It really is how we illuminate outwards into life. But think about it as sense of purpose. And the moon is how we're actually living that purpose. See, think about the sun in the sky. It's so bright. We know we can't look at it with our naked eye without burning our retinas, right? We can't receive that amount of light. It's actually the same with ourselves, with our, whatever you want to call spiritual being or our essence. Like that light energy needs something to break it down, filter, digest it. The moon is what actually reflects and digests and takes that energy so we can live it. So when you look at your moon phase, or what I'm calling today your sun moon phase, it is how you actually live your purpose, right? Sun being purpose, moon being how you live it. So when you look at the phase you were born under, that energy is some of the best energy you can put forward every moment when you're meeting life. Like in every moment something happens, right? I'm a new moon. I was born under the new moon. And new moon energy, and I'll go through all of them, at least briefly here. New moon energy is all about making the first move. New moon is dark. You can see up here at new moon, it's dark. And one way you can think about this is, and forgive my circle, I'm terribly bad at drawing things in perfect proportion, but this is meant to be a circle, or the actual, think about it as a circle, how you would the zodiac. So a circle has 360 degrees. The spot here where new moon begins is where the sun and moon come together in the sky, which means we can't see the moon much at all, or maybe just a little sliver, because they're together. There's not enough separation to reflect space to see the light. As the moon moves through its cycle with the sun, we begin to see more and more. Each of the 8 phases has 45 degrees of the 360 degree circle. There's a lot more to this, but it's just a simple way to think about it, right? So when you're starting with new moon, it's all about emergence. It's starting a brand new cycle. It's about just jumping into life. It's dark, right? You don't have the external light to see, so you have to trust your intuition. You have to trust your gut. You have to go for it. New moon phase, back to this 45 degrees, essentially, and if you're, you guys may already know this, but when you're figuring out phases and you're looking at your birth chart, you always take the slower moving planet or body. In this case, that would be the sun. And then you count degrees counterclockwise until you get to the next planet. In this case, we're working with the moon, which is not, these are not really planets, but we call them planets, right? So if the distance between your sun to your moon, counting counterclockwise in the chart, is 0 to 45 degrees, then that's a new moon. And then same way around the wheel. We're not going to get into that. If anybody's super interested or just wants to geek out or chat later, you can find me. So let's go back to new phase. If you're born a new moon, it carries with it natural Aries energy. So for example, during the month when we're working with moon magic, right? And by the way, new moon is my favorite. I like it much better than full moon. It's about setting intentions, right? It's about putting your wishes out there. It's about putting out what you want without knowing what it's going to be, how it's going to be fully formed, right? So there has to be like this room for freedom, for imagination, for possibility. Meeting your moment in the day, if you're a new moon, oftentimes means not overthinking it, right? Means following your gut, being willing to go for it. The things we know about Aries, right? Being willing to be assertive, make the move. If you're born under a crescent moon, and this is now 45 to 90 degrees between the sun and the moon. So we start to be able to see more, right? As they move apart from each other, as the moon moves away from the sun and the sky, we can see more. So now we can see a good chunk of a crescent. And this phase is about expansion. And it has a Taurus type of energy to it. So if you're born under a crescent moon, you can almost think of adding a crescent flavor to your basic energies. And with crescent phase, it's a struggle. It can be it takes a lot of same with Taurus, anywhere we find it, it takes a lot of tension, a lot of tension to get things to change or move. So there can be a lot of struggle and push and pull, like being pulled back to the past, and having to really make an effort to move forward to what's new, right? One thing I didn't mention about the new phase is any type of new phase energy or Aries in general, we can get tired and just want to go back to the previous phase, which is the ending, or the Pisces energy. It's like, think about Aries being born, like a baby being born. Sometimes we just want to crawl back in the womb, right? It can have these feelings. So when you're working with signs or energies and phases, anything that's moving from one energy to another, I always want to think about the thing that came before it, because two things. One, there's a reaction to that thing before, and usually wanting to get the heck out of there and do something different. But then also, when things get tough, the tendency to want to go back to the older thing is there. So crescent phase, though, this intense struggling pays off, because what we do is whatever was initiated in the new moon, it gets roots, right? There gets to be a grounding. There gets to be a foundation. One of the most powerful things about Taurus energy, besides embodiment, which is, of course, one thing that happens here, is the new phase is more like the spark, the essence, the fiery energy, right? Here's the epiphany, or the idea in its essence, right? When we come to the crescent phase, it starts to actually take shape and take form. But the other thing about Taurus is at the heart good at choosing what really has value, making the right choice for the right thing to go after, and then being really committed and loyal to doing it. So you can imagine, if you're born under a crescent moon, any moment in your life, how can you best meet life, right? Think back to your natal birth moon phase. How can you best meet life in that moment? How can you best live your purpose? If you're crescent moon, you got to dig in, make sure it has value. But when you know it does, then you got to go for it, and one foot in front of the other. And even when you get tired, right? That's the thing. It's about keeping on and keep going, and not letting the old challenge so much that you give up on what's new. So then we move into first quarter. And first quarter moon, I didn't mention, you guys, the first full phase, first 4 phases, so new, crescent, first quarter, and what I'm calling gibbous, that's all the waxing hemicycle, right? It's the half of the cycle that's waxing. So anybody born in the first 4 phases, first of all, even if you don't know exactly what phase, if you know that you're born under a waxing moon, you know that energy is building, right? Building into something. It's more assertive, more active, more growing, reaching its culmination. When we get to first quarter, that's 90 to 135 degrees between the sun and the moon. And so now we can see a full half. We can see half of the waxing moon. And this phase has Leo type energy attached to it. We sometimes call this crisis in action, because this phase is really about trying it out, right? You now have an idea what you're doing, so you just got to go for it. You got to take your show on the road. So there can be a lot of forceful activity. It's fiery, it's like, I got to show my stuff off. I got to try. If you were a performer, it's like, I'm going to try getting on the stage. And even though you're not all the way ready, at least subconsciously, because full phase is when, the culmination point. And I don't even like the word culmination, but we're not there yet, and I have to keep on moving. So back to first quarter. One thing that can happen is the results can hit you right in the face. You just have to be prepared. If you're born under a first quarter moon, you got to be prepared that you just got to try it. People might not like it. You might take it personally, all the Leo type stuff we know, but that's the point, is to check it out. That's how you know, and that's how you self-check and go back and then regenerate, what you're going to do next. It's really easy, though, with this phase first quarter, to not own the results, meaning, you put something out there in the world and then it doesn't work out so well. And then, maybe you just blame it on something else or on someone else. That's easy to happen here. So, but a sense of ownership and being willing to, have the audience not always clap. It's so healthy, because it gives you so many chances to, get your show just right. And the show doesn't have to be some big thing, right? With Leo, it's simply having at least one person's full attention for you to share from the heart. right? Leo's always about the vulnerability, the risk of sharing what's in your heart without really knowing how it's going to be received. So let's move to gibbous. Gibbous is the last waxing phase, and it's when the moon kind of looks like a blob. It's almost full, but not quite. In the chart, you can see, it fills out here, that bottom half of the hemicycle, and it's got Virgo energy. It's 135 to 180 degrees between the sun and the moon, and it's really about overcoming an adjustment, right? This is where you make all the final last minute tweaks, all the adjustments, because if we were putting on a show, the next phase would be curtain opens and opening night, right? So gibbous phase has this sometimes painful feeling of having to get all the things just right. There can be, just like with other Virgo types of situations or signatures, a struggle to let go of criticism, right? And to figure out which thing, what actions are actually making things better and what things are just leading to further, like, I don't know, analysis to paralysis and all those things that can happen with Virgo. But it's like developing the tools and techniques to get ready. And it also is very much about the reaction to the actions of the previous phase. So Virgo always has a little bit of cleanup to do from what Leo has overdone. So then now we finally reach the waning half of the hemicycle. And full is where it all begins. And full, 180 degrees to 225 between the sun and the moon. And this is about fulfillment and completion. It's not completion of the whole cycle, right? Keep this in mind, you guys. At full moon, we still have half of the whole cycle to go. So this is more about really being aware, maybe for the first time, right? Full moon and the opposition aspect, which is associated with it, and the sign Libra associated with it, is about getting awareness through getting awareness through the mirror. It's like for the first time we see the thing that we've been developing or growing since the new phase. There's a real importance of being social and relationships and interaction in this phase. So if you're born under full phase, working with people and learning through people is a big part of it. But there definitely is this idea. One thing Dane Rudhyar talks about at this full phase is that it's either a culmination of the waxing half of the cycle, or it's recognizing the impossibility to go on, meaning sometimes we start things that just didn't work out and we have to let them go. Not always the case, but I'm saying this is the point where it's like, okay, either the baby's ready to go out into the world, or, we have to reshuffle and relook at our stuff. All right. 3 more to go. Let's see if I can do it in 2 minutes. Man, okay. Disseminating is next. Disseminating, the sun and moon 225 to 270 degrees apart. This one overall has a Capricorn feel, and it's about demonstration. It's demonstrating what you've learned. So if full phase, we became aware of, hey, here's this thing I put out into the world, or here's this thing I gave birth to, here's this thing that after all my time of getting ready, it's ready to go. Disseminating phase is where we really try to make it useful in society. We try to find different ways of applying it and giving back and being useful. So this also, with disseminating phase, is where we reach a pinnacle. It's like there's a maximum growth point or a mountaintop, which we sometimes associate with Capricorn. And what can happen too, if you're born in a disseminating moon, the conditioned responses to things start to break down. You start to see how maybe you were just, going with the flow too much or following the rules too much. And so there can be a need to figure out how to work within the system or how to work within society, while at the same time you try to adjust to what's more true to your inner self. You can feel like the Capricorn type of feel here, right? But ultimately, there's a deep desire to give back and work within society and make whatever you have within you to give useful. Then we move into last quarter. Last quarter is the waning half moon. The moon, sun and moon are 270 to 315 degrees apart. This has an Aquarian. This is Aquarius type energy. It's about reorientation, right? So think about this whole cycle. we've started something, we've grown it, we've realized, okay, here it is. We've attempted to make it useful and maybe tweak it and work with it in different ways. And now we reach this last quarter phase, and we call this one crisis in consciousness, because sometimes for the first time, we see our results in a brand new light. It's like those Aquarian awakenings where all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that this is what I've been doing for all these years, or for this whole lifetime, or for this whole forever, whatever cycle it is. And there can be a real need to individuate, meaning if you're born last quarter phase, you all of a sudden can feel like, or be born feeling like, this isn't me. I don't feel like me. I need to be me, you know, the traditional Aquarius type stuff. So there's a shift from the more conservative energy that comes in the disseminating phase prior to a more inventive energy, and a real need to liberate. I know probably a lot of you are already working with moon phases. And so what I'm calling balsamic, or what is the waning crescent, which is going to be the next phase, we talk about releasing in that phase. And it's true, we do release. But more than anything, I feel like last quarter is where ultimately the releasing happens. Accepting responsibility for all the things that we've done, what we've created, what we've made of ourselves. And then a releasing happens. It comes like through the awareness, because next is balsamic. We sometimes call it the dying moon. The sun and moon are 315 to 360 degrees apart. In other words, coming back together. Soon they will start a brand new cycle. This is about release and closing. But in many ways, I think about the balsamic, the waning crescent. It's where things literally begin to disintegrate. It's where you realize that so many things were not real anyway. So there's this like receding into the blur, I sometimes call it, or like, I don't know, opening up into the kaleidoscope, where all of a sudden, all the things that we thought were so real and so important, they drop away. In this particular phase, that's a Pisces energy. There can be a need to withdraw, to be more with yourself, to do more like in the tarot, to be more like the hermit, right? To step back, to step away, to listen to the voices inside, or to listen to your guides, to listen to the elders. And there's also this need at this time, because everything that happens in this phase, at this closing phase, is like the compost pile where the seed is going to begin to germinate for the next new phase. So it's like deciding, what do I want to keep, to nurture what's coming next, and what do I want to fully let disintegrate, or vaporize is a good Pisces word, to not drag that with me, right? So this is also the time where you really get to choose to face some of the ghosts of the past, and you get to choose, like, can I bring it to meaningful closure? And if I can't bring it to meaningful closure, then I have to step away and know that that will recycle back at another point, you know, in my spiritual journey. Okay, I know I've already run over into our question time, so I am ready for the chat and ready for questions and anything you guys may have. I know there's going to be a little delay. I also I have all these, like, I really get into moon phases, so I also have like gemstone and essential oils, spirit animal, and mantras for each of the phases that I work with, which can be really helpful and really awesome. I'll read you guys the spirit animals real quickly before this pops up. So if you're new phase, panther is a great animal to work with. Crescent phase, beaver, builder of dreams. First quarter, peacock, right? Show your true colors. Gibbous phase is the ant. You know, work and working together. Oh, I'm coming to full moon. Good. Yeah, Sasha coming right next. Sasha, for the stone, I have moonstone and also selenite. Selenite is named after Selene, the moon goddess, so it's perfect. And spirit animal for full phase is buffalo. Oh, Carlton, it's autumn, a full moon baby, but I always love the new moon more. Oh, yeah, I don't know. You know, so there's so many things in the chart to look at, but it is interesting. Oh, Mercury retrograde, third quarter. Well, Mercury retrograde, right? You're reclaiming your own thoughts, your own mind, your own thinking. And then last quarter phase, third quarter, last quarter, it's even more like liberation. Okay. Disseminating, wolf. Last quarter, hawk. And balsamic, the whale. Thank you guys so much. Anybody else have any? Let's see, what do we have? We have 5 minutes. What would you like? Do you want me to read more stones? Do you have more questions? Okay, yeah, so I see that. Okay, Donna wants stones. Oh, I'll go back. Okay, I'll go back through stones and animals one more time. Oh, one more question. Do you look at birth moon phase with current moon phases similar to transits? So with I look at, when I'm getting ready to do a chart, I look at the natal phase. I also look at the progressed sun moon phase. Progressions is where you really want to rock this out in addition to birth moon phase. But you can work with phases between all planets and bodies. And someone's asking if I have found that many people are born at the full moon. With my clients, I don't know the statistics. My clients are all over the place. All of this information is not in my book exactly. You will definitely find all the information, lots of information on each of the phases between the sun and moon, and then way more, the moon with the other planets. You won't find the gemstones, essential oils, and the spirit animals and the mantras. Let me go back real quickly while I have a couple minutes. I know that people want the stones for each phase and the animal again. So new phase, again, is emergence and initiation. Gemstones, labradorite and black obsidian. Spirit animal, panther. And crescent phase, expansion and foundation, carnelian, laguna agate, and beaver. First quarter phase, action and expression, citrine, sunstone, and peacock. Gibbous phase, overcoming and adjustment, demordiorite, moss agate, and ant. Oh, can I get someone to show the book again? Someone's asking to see the book again. We need that help from Llewellyn. Okay, full phase. Gemstones, moonstone, selenite, and spirit animal is buffalo. Oh, and full phase, fulfillment and awareness. Disseminating, demonstration and contribution, aragonite, tiger eye, and wolf. Last quarter phase, angelite, scolecite, and hawk, and that's reorientation and awakening. Balsamic, closure and releasing, amethyst, aquamarine, and whale. Yeah, you guys, someone's asking about moonglow.com. It won't ask you for a time. So it's just going off moon phases by day. It's pretty close. I found it to be pretty good, but just know that if you're right on the edge with time, everything with astrology is time. So, you know, if you really want to know, you just got to run a real chart and know the exact time, but you can get very close. Oh, someone's asking if they're born on the other side of the world, does that affect the phase you were born in? I mean, you just have to look. I mean, essentially, you're looking for where the sun and moon were at that specific place at that specific time, which comes back to the chart. Essential oil information. You could probably Google some ones. I have my own personal ones. If you guys want to reach out to me personally, I'd be happy to share what I've come up with. I don't think I probably have time to do it in 1 minute. Whoever's asking for the essential oil, what's your phase? Bev, if you give me your phase, I'll give you the oil. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for all the thank yous. I love moon phases too. And I got to tell you, man, working with my my new moon, once I realized I was a new moon, makes all the difference. All the difference. In those moments when I get stuck, I just like, remember, I just got to Aries through, and it really does help me. Hey, you guys are awesome. I think we're right at our time. I wish we could do more. I could do this for hours. Yeah, please do feel free to reach out if I can help you guys with anything else. Oh, which waning moon essential oil? Full phase essential oil, petitgrain, lemon balm, disseminating, peppermint, patchouli. Last quarter, cardamom, bay laurel, balsamic, cedarwood, champaca, gibbous, frankincense, marjoram, crescent, lang lang, basil, first quarter, ginger and clove, and new juniper berry and lemon. Okay, I think I got them all. Thank you guys again so much. Everybody take care.